Viewers, this is the Treasures of Life show, and I'm your host, Jonah, SIMBA. My sign language interpreter, powerful name, Esther Kendi. Yes, we are a powerful team here at Science TV, giving you emotional intelligence every Wednesday. Make a date with us here at Science TV like you've done today, or check us on YouTube. Just to remind you, we have many shows that will enlighten you. Last week, we were talking with a guest here, yes? And we tackled dreams, aspirations, and goals. So if you go to that video, you will learn how to set goals and how to focus on your dreams. The same guest, we brought him here again, and we spoke about how to position yourself for a promotion. Where else can you learn this? For free. Yeah? Today, I have maybe a motivation. You may call it a motivation. If you want, you can call it mental health. If you want, you can call it encouragement, whatever. It depends on how you want to call it. But I just want to remind you, sometimes you need to be reminded of what you have. You don't realize what you have until you lose it. Yes? It is important for you to be reminded of what you have. Knowledge about yourself is good. What do you have? It is important for you to know and to be very grateful of what is in your hands. Because more often than not, what you have in your hands, that is what will make you win in the game of life. It's interesting. Life is a game. Yeah. Some of you don't know that we are here for a season, and everyone comes and does their thing and they leave. Yeah. Life, if you want to look at it as a game. Maybe you may not be able to take things so seriously. That's why angels fly. And that's a Scottish saying. Yeah. Angels fly because they take things lightly. Yeah. I'm reminded. Before I speak of that, let me tell you what I'm talking about. Remembering the deep. Yes. Remembering the deep. And when I talk about the deep, I mean the deep things of who you are. The deep things that make you. The deep things that has been taught to you. The valuable you. I'm reminded of one gentleman. His name, if I'm not wrong, is Kevin Carter. Some of you already, that name is ringing a bell. This was a great man somewhere in South Africa. And this man, he was just on a class of his own, like many of us are, because all of us are unique. He was in the South African army. For one or two reasons, he couldn't stay in there. He came out of the army. Then he discovered that he can do something with himself. He started taking photos, real-time photographs of the apartheid that was going on in South Africa. It was not long before he was identified as one of the main photographers, photojournalists, if you want to call it so, of the apartheid in South Africa. And as an opportunity came for Kevin Carter, one time there was so much going on in Sudan. Yes, there was famine in Sudan. The famine was so bad that the international community had to come in and help. And America was right there in the forefront in helping the people in Sudan. In fact, they could send aid through aircrafts that would go and pour, drop aid from the airplane, because there was, for some reason, war on the ground and many factions fighting. So they couldn't land, so they could just pass and drop foodstuff. That's how humanitarian the Americans were at that time. And they are still to date, helping in different missions around the world. What happened was there was a bombing, an Oklahoma bombing. So after they investigated the bombing, they discovered that the people behind it were actually from Sudan. What did America do? They reacted. I call it overreacted. And they decided they are not going to help Sudan anymore. If they can be giving them food aid in times of famine, and then they scheme a bombing against their country, then let it be. Unfortunately, the situation grew worse. It was so bad, terribly bad. Until one time, the international community decided, no, even if America has decided they are not going to give aid, people are dying in their thousands and hundreds of thousands, they would still go in. So they decided the best thing to do is to get a photojournalist to help highlight the situation in Sudan. Yeah. It just happens that there was a group that knew about, guess who? Kevin Carter. So they decided to put him in one of those aid planes carrying food aid, and they flew with him. The first stop was Nairobi. They put food stuff on the aircraft, and then they took off to Sudan. When they reached Sudan, they were hit by the smell of death, the scent of death. Because the death was so bad, animals dying and people dying, and there was death all over. Immediately, Kevin Carter started shooting. But you see, he had been briefed. Kevin Carter had been briefed together with his team. Do not touch the people there, because if you touch them, you may catch some diseases. There were some diseases that could be transferred through touch. So they decided to brief them and tell them, no, don't touch people. So Kevin Carter did his job. He just took photographs. Now, this is where I'm bringing my point to you to remember the deep. What happened? During his photographing, he came across some sobs in a bush. And he could hear clearly there was a child sobbing. So he went and found a 6-year-old boy. And behind the boy, there was a vulture. The vulture was waiting for the boy to die so that it could eat the boy. But the boy did not die. The boy was crawling towards where the food aid had been dropped. So he stood there with his camera taking the photograph. It was one of the winning photographs of that time, early 90s. It won awards because that photograph brought out the situation in Sudan very well. After that photograph, the international community came with full force to support the Sudanese people and to support them with foodstuff. But then soon, questions started rising. Kevin Carter, you were taking photographs of this child. What happened to the child? Because Kevin Carter had been briefed, he had been told, don't touch anybody. So he just took the photographs for some time, for long. It was many, many minutes, waiting for the vulture to come and eat the child. It didn't. So when the vulture did not eat the child, he stopped taking the photo and he chased the vulture away and he left. So the question was, just what did you do with that child, Kevin? And it went viral. Everyone was talking. Why didn't you help the child? Why? Why should you take the photograph of a dying child like that and not bring him to aid? It was heavy. You see, what the international community and the people around the world did not know, they didn't know about the briefing. Much as the photograph went viral, it came with a heavy load of criticism. And that is why I'm speaking to you, my viewer today. Do you have the ability to carry glory? Because sooner rather than later, you will carry glory with you. Your nation is your glory. Let me talk to you, Kenyans, or the people out there in countries that are watching me today. Your nation is your glory. Your family is your glory. Your community is your glory. Your work, your vocation, your career is your glory. Sometimes you need to remind yourself that you need to stay alive because you have your story to share. You have your story to encourage people. If Kevin Carter did not take this too deeply, because he did, and I'm not criticizing him, God forbid. I'm talking about the ability to carry glory, because what did Kevin Carter do when the criticism grew? Kevin Carter thought it was too much. He took a hose pipe, connected it to his vehicle, and directed it to his inside, the inside of the car, and he closed all the windows and he drove. All of you who know chemistry and physics out there know that that brings carbon monoxide right into the vehicle. He died out of carbon monoxide poisoning. But it was so heavy, the criticism was so heavy. The criticism was so heavy that he just couldn't take it anymore. God forbid that we should lose our best because of criticism, because of social media hate, because of hatred, unnecessary strife, because of malice, because of gossip and propaganda. God forbid. When you see through what is in your plate, what is in your hands, you would see a lot of glory. I can't help but to think of the nation Kenya and our history, our rich history. We have a very rich history, a rich country. We have platinum country. When you think of the goodness of this country, you can't help but to just find a way of moving around this country and exploring it. I'm seeing a lot of glory. You know, I need to go for a break. But let me just point this to you. Even as I'm talking to you, I sense in me you're very special. You need to be alive to give your story. You need to be vibrant, no depression. You need to tell yourself, why are you downcast, oh my soul? Put your hope in God. That is a Christian saying. See you after the break.